Dr. Judy WTF, and we are right around the corner from Christmas and the end phases of Hanukkah and whatever else holidays you are celebrating. It is holiday season, almost the new year. Wow, this year has gone by so quickly. It feels like the months have just peeled by. And I've done previous shows on holiday and stuffing your feelings. And this is a similar show. It's just that we're going to focus tonight on, are you feasting on holiday resentments? And this is a time where we compare what should have, would have, could have been to what is. And sometimes we get disappointed because the people that we wish were at the table or at our parties are not. The situations that we are in is not quite what you were hoping for, maybe financial, maybe relationships, maybe your health, maybe family members or friendships that have ghosted you or disappeared from your life, or that you've had to drop from your life. And obviously, holidays bring up this cheery, happy, perfect, wishful thinking that everything is just going to be a-okay, and life just doesn't work that way. So here you are during holiday season, and there's a lot of food around usually. And so, are you feasting on holiday resentments? And let's talk about this. And this is a call in show, everybody. So, please feel free to call in and express yourself and get on the couch, and let's deal with your holiday resentments. So, one of the things that I talk a lot about, as many of you know, are negative core beliefs. And negative core beliefs, especially during times where families are supposed to get along and holidays are supposed to bring in the cheer, they get activated. And so, if you're in a less than ideal situation, if you are around people that are demeaning, devaluing, destroying, discarding, making you feel less than, then we're off to a not only resentments but activation of negative core beliefs. So let's bring in some examples of this and see how they play out. And of course, I'm making this all up because unless I have a call in, I can't really speak to a particular one. But let's say that you are at the dinner table and it is Christmas or Hanukkah or some other holiday, or the New Year, and you are sitting with people that are not quite the people who have had your back, and they are not quite the people that you feel safe with and cozy with and trustful of. And there you are, and you have to be there because they're your aunt or your uncle or your brother or your sister or your mother or your father, or even your lover or husband or wife, or even your children. So this brings into play resentment, because resentment is when you have to put up with, okay? Like an easy word for resentment is, ugh, I have to put up with this. I'm not too happy about it. These are people that are not kind. These are people that I don't even want to be with. But I'm going to fake it till I make it. And when you fake it till you make it, you end up resenting because you are out of your authenticity to yourself. And you're playing a game of trying to be nice, people please, be social, be cordial. And all of that is fine. And sometimes we have to do those kinds of things to get along and smooth over family conflict. But let's not ignore the fact that it can leave people with a lot of resentment. So this is a call-in show, everyone, and I'd love to hear from you. So please call in and let's air our resentments. So one of the resentments that people face, oh, we have a call-in. I guess we have somebody who wants to air their resentments. Thank you so much for calling in. And hi, what is the name that you'd like me to call you by?
Hi, Dr. Judy. Season's greetings. It's Bobby.
Hi, Bobby. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I've been thinking about this topic literally all day. it was on my mind
Yes.
about if I had if I have any holiday resentments.
And
And
okay.
these past 3 years, I pretty much made my own safety wall with myself, my dog, my house. I decorated my house for Christmas. I'm bringing it to myself. Um, since my dad is, this has been like the second year he's dead, I noticed that I feel physically and mentally safe, but I still get people asking me, "Oh, I remember your father. He was a good guy." And I just say, "Oh, okay, okay, yeah, he's not here." I don't go into it. But I do feel triggered. Like somebody who said to me, um, I was at a restaurant and they said, "Oh, how's your family doing? Your sister? You talk to them? Everything's good?" "Oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine." So um, I feel like, yeah, I do feel safety that my dad's dead. My mother lives within walking distance, and I was thinking about almost that feeling that I would get when I knew that I had to leave because if, if something was just my mother made certain comments to family members when I was there, and this is like 2 or 3 times, and it really made me just never want to be around her or any get-together.
So,
And
so back up for a minute because you made a comment about people or a person saying, "Hey, how's your family? How's your dad? He's a good guy." And the minute he said he's a good guy, it clashed with your experience of your father, who was not such a good guy, especially to you. And so when the
right,
person mentioned him in the context of the good guy, obviously, what did you feel?
I felt like I didn't want to go there, and I didn't want to put my uh, dirty laundry right out to it just felt like I wasn't even close to. This is just a neighbor, just saying in contact, that I see constantly, or oh, I was reminded of your dad, and he didn't know what was really going on.
And I think
So
you're right to have chosen to not get into it because why would you want to? He's not uh, anybody that significant to you, correct? And
correct, yeah.
you're right. You don't want to air your dirty laundry, but I can't help but think about how it must have felt to you for somebody to talk about the good guy to you when he caused you so much pain.
I felt embarrassed because I had a lie and being untrue to myself. That I felt almost resentful to myself. Like, okay, I'm still lying. I'm still putting on this front. But then it's like the wall was, um, it wasn't his business. He did not need to know anything behind closed doors or even uh, stuff that happened there. So I just kind of grin and bear it, And he's been just mentioning it without being vindictive or maybe nosy, but just how's your mother? But I think it's obvious that I haven't been in contact. I live in a small area, but
Mm-hmm.
when I would be in a you see, my mother made the comment at like when I was even a teenager until I tried to go there to like be part of the tradition, and she would always say that I wasn't her. What she would say was, "This is." I I never mentioned it to anyone because no one would even believe it. But
Mm-hmm.
a family member would say, "Okay, what did you do this weekend?" I said, "I saw um, an old movie. They were playing it at one of the theaters." And my mother would say, "Bobby, yeah, he's not my son. He's reincarnated. He's from I don't know where he came. Not
Oh,
he's
your
he's
mother
not
would
one
say
of us."
that
And
about you?
yeah, that I was reincarnated, that I wasn't part of them.
Okay. Well,
He's we don't know where he came from.
I
We
wanted
didn't
to,
know where he came from.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, she would say, we don't know where he came from. He's, in other words, um, he's not part of us. Don't even take him, it was cringeworthy.
Now, I know you've done a lot of work on yourself and you are able to pull apart identifying the lies versus with the lies and seeing other people's psychopathology and not personalizing it. But, we're never really 1,000% free of these kinds of put downs, especially when they come from the people that were supposed to be our safety zone. They were supposed to be our protectors, namely our parents. But sometimes these are tests to see where you're at and how far you've come. So when you hear these things now, how do they? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So my question is, being that you've done all this work on yourself and you're able to identify the lies rather than with the lies, how do these things impact? Are they still impacting you heavily? Have they lightened up on you? Where does it live inside of you?
I thought about what was said on the Thanksgiving episode, that someone mentioned that there is a sadness there, and with me, I don't think the sadness was in a recall of a memory. I think it was the sadness of never having a memory, or what could have been that wasn't. So it really doesn't linger. I could watch it come, process it, and then just let it go and be like, okay,
Yeah.
I still have, you know,
You
I'll
know,
put on a music or something
there are two
to snap out of it.
concepts two concepts that you're bringing to mind. One is the sadness of grieving the parents that you never had. So, what are parents? They're supposed to be loving, they're supposed to be protective, they're supposed to be on our side, they're supposed to be safe. Well, what if they're not? Then, especially during holiday season when everything's supposed to be family and copacetic and sitting around the fire and reminiscing about all the great memories. Well, if the memories are not there, then there's a sense of a grieving the parent or parents that you never had. And I did an episode on it. So I want to direct everybody to that particular episode, Grieving the Parents You Never Had. And then the other one I think is really useful for holidays is the ABCs of resentment. So I'm going to go over that with you because you kind of alluded to that. So let's say that you and your neighbor and your father are ABC. It's you are A, the neighbor is B, and your father is C. Even though he's deceased, you still have feelings about him, mostly negative. So when B says what a great guy C is, meaning when your neighbor said what a great guy your father is, then how are you supposed to feel about B when your father betrayed you and he's calling you the great guy? And so I want to point out during the holiday season that this ABCs of resentment may be activated a lot. That you're sitting next to Mary, and Mary knows that Harry hurt you, and Mary's chatting it up with Harry, and you're wondering why Mary is so friendly to Harry when she knows how hurt you were by him. And it's a natural inclination to want other people to jump on your bandwagon and say, yep, he hurt her, he hurt him. Why are you friends with him? Why are you chatting it up with him? So it's impossible, especially when you have these large family gatherings, to not be in a situation where somebody um, still likes somebody that betrayed or hurt you um, on some level, and you see that they're still friendly. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It makes perfect sense because my mother lives within walking distance, and the thought of even being 2 feet within her, I would feel physically ill. Like I just wouldn't, my body would just push me without me going. It would be like the wind before you know, like I don't feel ready to ever be in her presence, even though she's so close and she it's just ugly, you know. It's ugly memories knowing how close she is, and she is bitter that I didn't go to the funeral, and she's bitter that I still should have went. So it's a double edged, like it's suing with uh, ugliness. So it's kind of, you know, the holidays can conjure that up for people, and always protect yourself because I can't even go a block near her. I don't want it, nothing to even. Yeah.
So look, here's
I
the
mean,
is that you know sometimes people go way too far and it's impossible or nearly impossible to patch up or heal any resentments, in which case you just stay away because not everyone will do the following: own their own stuff, um, care and empathize with how they've hurt you, um, identify areas that they have to improve, do childhood wounds kind of work that the mind map is all about. So, most people or many people are not going to do that kind of work. So, what do you have left on your plate? Pun intended, is just um,
nothingness. A point of no. It's just no return. There's nothing to go to. It's
that's right. That's right. And you know, that's very okay. I want to remind people that
you're,
it's okay. It's okay not to talk to somebody that's hurt you. It's okay not to feel warm and fuzzy about other people who talk to the person who hurt you. These are natural, normal feelings. Again, listen to my episode on ABCs of resentment. It'll really explain a lot. So I wanted to ask you because resentment is also living on a somatic level. Mind and the body are interconnected. So as you are
mm-hmm.
sitting with people that you resent, what do you feel on a somatic level? What's happening in your body?
Well, I did what your doctor friend last week said to I I opt out of anything that ever has to do with my biological family. Even, you know, there are some family members that are nice, that do like me, that say, you know what, Bob, they're like enlightened witnesses. They said, you know, don't go to your dad's funeral. He was a jerk. I never liked your mother either. And this was, you know,
Mm-hmm.
my mother's cousin, so he wasn't a enlightened witness.
Yes.
So just, you know, just only being with loving people, trying, you know, and if they're not fitting the bill, then I'll sit home with my dog or watch a movie or be with the
Exactly.
partner or
Thank
whatever,
God for
and
thank God for
watch
your
a movie.
dog. Your dog has been so
Yeah,
healing to you. As a matter of fact, I've been talking about dogs a lot today because I have one particular case that I'm working with, and the level of PTSD is so high. And then, of course, the psychiatrists step in to medicate and all that. And so, in this case, I highly recommended a dog, as I did to you, Robert. Right, Bob? I
and
recommend.
it literally helped. It almost diminished because when I thought about, am I carrying resentment with me now somatically? And I'm really not, because a lot of it was, I did have PTSD from the experience, and I just wanted justice settled. I wasn't out for an eye for an eye. I didn't have any ill will. It was the nerves, the PTSD, and the dog was so. He put a smile on my face that I haven't had in uh,
Well,
at least.
animals, right, right. And you know
Yeah.
this, animals do something that a lot of humans cannot do, which is they are loyal, they have eye contact, they cuddle well, they feel your feelings and mirror you and feel sad when you're sad and are happy when you feel happy. And they're great companions. And I was joking with this person and said, you know, if you get the dog, call the dog Zoloft or Xanax or, you know, because we take these medications to manage our feelings. And I guess in some cases it's appropriate, but sometimes it's better to go with nature and have a beautiful dog or cat or whatever animal you vibe with. Get in there on your nervous system level and calm down the amygdala, which is the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn part of our emotional brain. And you had the sense to do that, and your life
Yeah.
really turned around.
Yes, and I was never. I didn't have it in my being. I had to do work on. I did had to do so much work on myself to be able to accept that into my life and to bring it onto myself. The love, the kindness. I didn't even know how. It was. I was always in survival mode for year after year. Just
Right.
keep going no matter what. So yeah, but it brings up mental resentment. But I just tune it out as if I have to put a radio on or a song or be with the dog or just something because the holidays does conjure up. It's almost like you're forced to be with these people that are just so make your blood boil, and that's not healthy, because like I
No,
said, I can't be. I would feel sick, physically ill,
right. And
to
you're
even
allowed just to mind map
a
this a
little
little
bit.
because you know about most of you know about the mind map. If you look at panel number one, which are the wounds of childhood, wounds of abuse and neglect, they open up these horrible um, pain points in us, and then we react and we encode them into horrible core beliefs. And especially around holidays, which are supposed to be ideal days, we make such a big deal out of them, and they're so commercialized, and they're supposed to represent joy and celebration and family and friendship and camaraderie and unconditional love and so on. And when we're not with the people that offer that up, or we're just not surrounded by it, then we are in the holiday season and we are feasting on resentments, disappointments, ideals not being met, family members that didn't come through when you wanted them to come through. So that's why I did the show tonight on holiday and resentments, because holidays are always a trigger zone for people. And the list is endless as to how people can get triggered. Sometimes you're,
Well,
yes, go ahead.
I would recommend to opt out of any situation where you would feel physically ill.
I
Number one, I also would, you know, put on a song, a movie, something to feel good, so you're not, so that's not living in the brain too long, so it could just move on, and to protect yourself. That's my, you know, I had to,
I
and people,
like
I
that.
think
And
everyone needs that.
I think that's really a great way to approach it. And another great way to approach this is to make new memories with new people, because when we're feasting, literally chewing on our resentments, we're chewing on the past. And that never tastes good if the past is bitter and ugly and be laden with betrayal. However, once we learn to vet people in our lives, and once we make decisions to hang around with people who love and nurture us and support us, we can then build those memories and be forward seeking rather than chewing on past resentment. So I recommend that people um, not just close down because of past hurts and go into panel number 5, which I call defenses. Because if you're just going to live in defenses, unfortunately, you're not going to let any of the light in and any of the love in. And so, that's not really giving yourself a fair shot at life. So if you could put up panel number 5 for a minute, then you could see defenses um, as a metaphor for permeable membranes where maybe you're too vulnerable and you let too much in, or non-permeable membranes where you don't let anything in. And neither one of those are going to work, because if you let in all of the poison, then you're going to get sick. And if you keep out all of the light by trying to prevent the poison from coming in, you're just going to be lonely and isolated. So I recommend semi-permeable membranes, not non-permeable, not permeable, but semi-permeable, where you vet the people and you let in the good, and you learn how to keep out the bad through boundaries. So this is also a time where you want to put the boundaries. And Dr. Elizabeth Crane and I did a show on the Thanksgiving episode, and we talked about being strategic with where to place people at the dinner table. And so it makes sense to sit next to somebody who's an ally, and maybe sit all the way across the table from somebody that you clash with, or have feelings of resentment toward. And so my point is, it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to be around people, unless you choose to really lock yourself in your home. You're always going to be around some people that are not quite going to be um, on your team, and not quite going to be nurturing and loving and mirroring and all the things that we need to grow as human beings. So I'll
Yeah.
leave you for another call, but I really do appreciate you calling in, and it's always so good to hear from you how much you've progressed. So keep in
Yes,
touch,
yes,
okay? And
yes. Happy holidays and happy New Year, and much love to you.
same to you.
And I love this episode because it always brings up, this time of the year. It's like what you said. You're supposed to do a certain prototype, and if you don't, we're trained to feel bad about it, which is just, marketing. But have a beautiful night, and I'm going to enjoy the
Thank
rest of the show.
you. Thank you so much. You too. And I
Bye
think
bye.
thank you. Good night. And I think part of my motivation to do these shows is that um, I feel so good being here. I feel so nurtured by the people who appreciate what I have to say. And even if you challenge it, that's perfectly fine. And I just appreciate being around people who are wanting to grow, evolve, self reflect, self correct. It's just a small group of people who are willing to do that, because most people just want to project, or they want to swallow the pain and hole up and, as I said, defend and keep away. And we can't grow like that. So I always suggest being in an environment that is growth producing. And for me, being around people who want to grow helps me grow as well, and helps me to examine myself and get better and better at systems and ways to connect with people and heal human disconnect. And we really, really need it, because human disconnect leads to global disconnect, and we're really in trouble there. Our globe is not doing well. The original intention of the mind map is was to heal human disconnect on a global level and become more humane. And so I think next year I'll talk more about that because we're really heading for, if we haven't already, headed for the clash, the big clash, panel number 6, which used to be called the clash of the isms. All of the isms that keep us separated are clashing. Instead of a united humanity and sharing the light with other people and other cultures and so on, we seem to not know how to do that, and we're clashing terribly, and there's a lot of bloody fallout material, literally. So my model always has been panel number 7, which is the paradigm shift into synergy. And how do we do that? I think we have to start individually, and we have to seek out synergistic partners and synergistic philosophies and synergistic anythings that are going to bring out our light and are going to teach us to be more humane and more sharing and caring human beings. So please feel free to call in. We need to talk about these resentments, because if we don't put the resentments on the table, so to speak, and address them directly, then they will eat us up alive. And I think we all know what it feels like to be at a holiday party and resent that we're not this enough or that enough, and this one's better, and that one's richer, and that one's thinner, and that one's younger, and that one's more handsome, and that one's prettier, and that one's more successful. So there's so much to resent. So one of the ways that I deal with this and recommend that people deal with this is to go into gratitude. I know it sounds simple, but there's always something to be grateful for. And I really admire people who, I know one person who actually keeps a big fat journal of a gratitude list and just keeps writing in the gratitude list. So it's sort of hard to be in resentment all the time when you open up your gratitude list and look at all the things that you're grateful for, like your health and your friends that do love and support you, and your pets, and your even gratitude for yourself. Be grateful that you're doing the work. Be grateful that you bother to open up cans of worms like childhood wounds so that they don't rule you. Because as Carl Jung said, and I believe Freud said the same thing, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it's going to rule you. And so that's part of the work of the mind map, is to bring everything to a conscious level so it doesn't just take over and end up in resentment and breakdown and clashes and stomach aches and headaches and all kinds of somatic problems. And, you know, when we're in the holiday season, we tend to eat more. And so part of what we do as a defense when we're resentful, you've heard the expression, eating away. It's eating away at me. The resentment is eating away at me. And so it's not uncommon to sit at the table and eat way more than you were planning to eat, or drink more alcohol, or do more drugs, or whatever it is that is your defense mechanism. So be careful with that, because you could get really carried away by chewing on these resentments and drinking them and numbing yourself from them. And who wants to feel them, right? So rather than feel them at the dinner table, let's bring them out here, or within your therapeutic sessions, or within your journal, or however you do it, so that they don't rule you and the forces don't cause you to implode by overeating, drugs, so on, or explode and project your anger onto other people. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about anger and resentment. Okay, those two concepts seems to go hand in hand. And by the way, this is a call-in show, so please feel free to call in and let's talk a little bit about anger and resentment and that how that might play out at the dinner table during holiday season. So we all know that people can express themselves either um, blatantly and properly. And in order to do that, I've created something called the Peaceful Healing Dialogue, which is on my website. You can also contact me and ask for it. It's a way of dialoguing so that you can stay connected to the person and be heard and understood rather than disconnected and resentful. So when we are resentful, we tend to go into different modes of anger. Some people will shout and insult and demean and devalue. Other people may be more passive aggressive about it. So at a dinner table, it might be a little hard to say exactly how you feel, or maybe you don't want to, but maybe you might do something like, oh, I don't know, forget to serve a particular guest the food, or place somebody in a spot that is uncomfortable. Maybe the chair's a little bit too short and doesn't have a lot of padding. I think we've all been on that horrible chair of like, why do they give me that chair? I don't understand. What am I supposed to glean from it? And sometimes nothing. It's just like they ran out of chairs, okay, and you got the bad one. But sometimes people get passive aggressive in ways that are very creative. And so look out for that, because if your resentment is going to be showing up in the form of passive aggressive behaviors toward others, or people's resentments toward you are going to be showing up in terms of passive aggressive behaviors toward you. Now we know that the unconscious forces are starting to show up, not verbally, but non-verbally, because there are a lot of different ways to communicate. And I'd love to hear from you. This is a call-in show, everybody. So please feel free, call in. I don't want you chewing on your resentments. I don't want you um, giving yourself heartburn and indigestion and heartache during a time when you could be enjoying and you could be a lot more strategic and minding your boundaries and being with the people that you want to choose to support and love you, and make sure that you're comfortable and valued. So are there any people in the chat room asking questions, or please call in? I'd love to hear your resentments and discuss what are we going to do about them so that you don't get sick during the holiday season and chew on your own resentments.
We do
Any
have
comment?
somebody made a comment, and I think this is something for people out there that attitude for attitude of gratitude helped me heal this mess. So I think that
Yes.
is for sure the attitude of gratitude is very important.
Yes, and that goes back to the gratitude list, right? What are we grateful for? Appreciation, and there's always something that we can appreciate. And I like to even look at curse by designs as forms of things that I can appreciate. Because let's say that a certain friend has walked out of my life, or a certain relationship has ended, then I can have gratitude for the fact that that person who wouldn't have been a good partner or wouldn't have been very nourishing to my body soul is not with me any longer to make me feel bad or trigger me, or to demean, devalue, and destroy. So even in situations where you're resentful that somebody is not in your life, even there you could see that there's a reason they're not in your life, and there's a reason that you're not in their life. And usually there's if you've split up with somebody, there's usually a good reason. And so you could be grateful that it came to the breakdown point. And through breakdowns, we always learn, hopefully, and then we can break through next time instead of break down. And when we come into these relationships that end up clashing and crashing, we're probably needing to self-examine the what the Freuds in our life, because again, a big part of the mind map is making sure that we don't repeat patterns of the past, and we don't pair up with people who are similar in psychopathology to our parents. And so if you come from a family of narcissists, if your parents don't have empathy, if they've ignored you and demeaned you, or even over smothered and spoiled you and not enabled you to separate and individuate and have a sense of strength, well, this is what I mean by narcissistic abuse. And I carefully put together a video called Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. And I want you to look at it because it's up there on my website. And my website is, as you can see, psychologicalhealingcenter.com. And if you go to my website, then the entire introduction is up there for free. And then you could purchase this video if you don't want to pay money to see one of the therapists or me, or you can do the video along with services, whether it would be with me or other members of the team, or do the video and then decide that you'd like to have a little bit of services to supplement your psychoeducational healing course. So there are many ways that you could do this particular healing from narcissistic abuse process. And again, people know this, but I'll say it again. You're welcome to free consultations so that we can tailor make your program and make sure that you're not stuck on any level with your old patterns and your old what the Freuds, and that you paradigm shift into a new way of being and a new way of seeing, which includes picking better people and raising the relationship bar. Very important, because as I say in my book, which by the way, you're all welcome to a free PDF copy of, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect, it's very, very important that we pattern track and that you become the cause of your part two of your life and not repeat the past, because until we bust the old system and dismantle it, you're just going to copycat it. And it's not like you're intentionally wanting to, but that's just how the psyche is set up, so that anything that is not complete, anything that is still lurking in the unconscious gets repeated, and it doesn't get any better until you know what the Freud you're repeating and why you're repeating it, and what those wounds that are being activated are still doing in your life, and why they're still active in your psyche in terms of PTSD, complex PTSD, trauma reactions, and horrible negative core beliefs that definitely play on the psyche and create a lot of chaos, defenses, and breakdowns. So I want you to learn this. And then there's always the basic course, which is the 9-panel mind map video series. And that's just an easy course, a basic course on childhood wounds. And anybody can avail themselves of that. You can look on my website or ask me about it. But if particularly you are with a narcissist or healing from narcissistic abuse, you might want to consider that new video that I created. Any other questions in the chat room, or any other questions that anyone wants to call in about? We still
Nope,
have a few
no
minutes.
questions, just chitter chatter, and no calls yet. But yeah, please give us a call. Call 323-524-2599.
Yeah, and then you can call the clinic, or you could always email me at Dr. Judy, DrJudy, at psychologicalhealingcenter.com, and I'll be happy to respond and direct you in terms of what is the best uh, plan for you to start your healing process. But definitely, the downside of not healing is repeating things. The downside is getting sick. The downside is losing emotion, losing finances, losing mental health. And the worst part is when you pass your psychopathology, with the emphasis on psycho, to the next generation. So as you heal, you are creating a clean and fresh blueprint for your children, and children who are being brought up by parents who are on a healing journey fare much better. And families that are built on sustainability and mental health tend to stay together and not fall into chaos, defenses, and breakdowns. So this is important on so many levels I can't even begin to describe. An unhealed person is just a liability to self, to others, to their workplace, to their children, to their physical health, overeating, drinking, doing drugs. I mean, when we're not feeling well, um, we tend to numb out, and the ways that we numb out make us worse, not better. So during the holiday season, put down your fork and knife, stop stuffing your resentments and feasting on your resentments, and take out the gratitude plate and fill your gratitude plate, and be honest with yourself and self-reflect and self-correct, and take the opportunity to commit to growth. So I want to see a lot of growth in everybody. 2024 is a time, it's always a time to grow, but it's a fresh, clean new year. So let's grow, let's create a community of interconnectedness. Let's raise the bar on mental health and raise the bar on who we select into our lives. And I'm so proud to be a part of raising the bar with people and busting the lies and misperceptions and misconceptions that create a lot of pain and suffering. So, with that said, if there aren't any more questions or calls,
They
I
are
want,
not, but
okay. Well, with that said, I want to wish everyone a very, very happy holiday season. And I'll see you next week as our last session of the year, and then I'll be back the following year.
don't you have Dr. Elizabeth joining you?
Actually, Dr. Elizabeth got a surprise
Oh,
trip, so she won't. But Dr.
okay.
Actually, Christiana Davidson, surprise, surprise, is flying into LA. So
What?
I know. So we'll be doing our first show together.
Wow.
And I think we'll come into the studio
I'd love
and
that.
I'll get all dressed for that one, okay? Because
Great.
it's super special. So you'll be there next week, Tony?
I will be here.
And oh, by the way, I just want to make the announcement that we're going to do the show earlier. I think you have us down for 4 p.m.
Yep.
Pacific Standard Time. So I'm going to keep that time. I want the audience to know that we're going live, Christiana Davidson and I, to talk more about holiday and narcissism and our favorite topics. And we'll be announcing the title. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the show, please do, so that you can get notification. So we will be there, Tony, 4 p.m. And
Yay.
audience, don't look for the 8 p.m. show, because it's going to be the 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is probably easier on people who live back east, because that's 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock p.m. for the New York people and the East Coast people. Okay, so I really look forward to seeing you, Tony, with Christiana next
I'm
week.
looking forward to it also.
Okay, all right. Take care, everyone, and happy holidays. Good night, everyone.